Spotters. Hey, big man.
G'day, g'day.
How are you?
Not bad, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you, pal. Good. Thank you. Oh, yeah, well, bang on the dot. Well done. Good from
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Mate,
Punctual.
thank you for joining us. We do
No.
really appreciate this. Obviously, being a TNF ambassador. How many years have you been on board with TNF?
Good question to start with, mate. No, it's a pleasure to jump on and have a chat with you, buddy. This is coming up. This season coming up will be 6 seasons.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, yeah. When I finished up with Victoria, I was lucky enough that Sheeds and I met a couple of times, and there was an opening at TNF HQ, and I ended up working with Sheeds and the guys at TNF for about 6 months before I just decided to come over to the UK and give it a crack over here. So the guys have looked
Fantastic.
after me really, really well.
No, awesome, mate. Awesome. It's good to hear. So before we come on to like a little bit of your cricket adventure and stuff like that, obviously let's talk about what's going on at the moment. Lockdown. It's pretty big part of everyone's life at the moment. What have you been doing with yourself?
Lockdown two at the moment. Yeah, so it's been a little bit different to the first one. Hopefully, it doesn't last as long as the first one. But yeah, no, it's been good. In between lockdown, we've moved house, so we're still settling into a new property. My partner and I, and we've been out and we've bought a puppy. So we got a Doberman puppy. So between the house, keeping the house nice and tidy, and trying to train the puppy, mate, it's that's keeping me pretty busy.
I bet it's keeping you on your toes. Many sleepless nights so far?
No, he's been pretty good, to be fair. I think we've only had one night where he's woken up crying, looking for attention and not knowing where he was. But other than that, we've been pretty lucky. So fingers crossed that
Oh.
that continues.
And what is this name of this puppy?
His name is Dusty. Dusty he's 10 weeks old today, and he's a Doberman. So he's going to be a big boy. But yeah, well, that's what we're sort of looking for when I'm away traveling. We'll have something that's a little bit bigger. Probably looks a little bit more intimidating than what he hopefully will be. But yeah, just something to look after for Tash, to sort of keep Tash company while she's here, and to look after her while I'm away traveling for cricket. So
So you say Dusty. Now, is it taken after the old Dusty Martin for Richmond?
yeah, Dusty Martin. Yeah, there's Dusty Martin, and then there's also a Dusty Farrell that lives in my hometown of Tallygaroopna. He's an old bloke that gets around there. So there's a little bit of both, but mainly Dusty Martin. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. So you're saying about like you back home and stuff like that, and you come over. Tell us a bit about your background. Where did you grow up? What did you do with cricketing wise and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small country town in country Victoria, by the name of Tallygaroopna. There's about 400 people that live there, and grew up there for, what was it, 14, 15 years, until mum and dad decided to go their separate ways. But then we moved into Shepparton for a little while. So I played most of my junior cricket in and around Shepparton, and then just really wanted to play with my older brothers. So wherever they went for senior cricket was basically where I followed, and was lucky enough to do that, and succeed them. And yeah, got asked to move down to Carlton and give it a crack, and that's sort of where it all started from then into the professional ranks. But I started my A grade cricket in Shepparton with Caramomus Cricket Club. Trent, my eldest brother, he was captain at the time, and I did get to play with my two other older brothers, Tyson and Josh, as well. So there was the four of us together in the team, which was great. So played there, and then from there, we played in a losing grand final against an ex-Victorian cricketer in Rowan Larkin, who's got connections with the Carlton Cricket Club, um, and yeah, he basically came up to me after the grand final, and just said, "Mate, have you thought about giving it a crack in Melbourne? I definitely think you're good enough, but it's up to you whether you want to do it or not." And I hadn't really given it any thought at that stage, and a couple of weeks went by and I got a phone call from Peter Divenuto, who was the coach at the time, and asked me to come down and give it a crack. And I gave it a bit of thought. And then I think the thing that sort of pushed me over the line was Steele, my younger brother, who's a Collingwood footballer, basically said, come and stay with me as much as you need to. If you're hesitant on where you're going to live, we'll sort a place out together, and don't worry, we'll get it sorted, and I'll help you try and get on your feet and all that kind of stuff, which sort of was a massive factor in me moving down. So he sort of put that offer out, and I took him up a couple of times for a couple of weekends over sort of the finals period and of the football and pre-season period for Carlton, and had a couple of training sessions, and the guys were fantastic and they got around me and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what, I've got a great opportunity here. Why not? Let's give it a crack. So,
and how old were you at the time?
I just turned 21.
Yeah. Okay. So
it was 2010.
Big move then.
Yeah, it was. It's only a 2-hour drive up the road from Shepparton to Melbourne. So it's not too.
Only.
Yeah, it's not that far, mate. It's only a couple of hours. But
that's
yeah,
how you Aussies speak, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
only down the road, and that could be 3 hours.
Well, exactly. It is. It's only. But yeah, so no, it was good. Like I still was able to get back to Shep and still see all the family, and pretty close with the family. So it was a big decision then to move down. But I still got to travel back and forth a little bit, which was nice. So it was great. It was probably, to be fair, until I shifted over here, it still is one of the best things I've done was move out of home and move into Shepparton, and I'll move out of Shepparton and move to Melbourne.
So you're looking back at it, your brothers played a big part in this transition. So you said that you joined the cricket club where they were, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. Went from playing with your brothers, and then your younger brothers putting you up down in Melbourne. That's a pretty cool story, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether they did it on the cricket field or whether it was at home in the back garden, playing cricket in the back garden, your family do have a big influence on you. And there was a fair bit of blood, well, a little bit of bloodshed in the backyard, but we all got on with it, and you learnt to win because you got sick of losing pretty quickly. But they did have a big influence early days on my career, that's for sure.
You see, talk about back garden cricket. So you're a big quick now. Did you always bowl in the back garden, or did you have a chance of batting?
Didn't bat for very long, but yeah, I've probably spent more of my time bowling than batting. So that's probably why I'm a fast bowler now. But no, I was a pretty late bloomer in terms of I had a growth spurt when I was about 18, and I was quite short up until then, and then from 18 to 21, I grew probably 1.5 foot, and that's when sort of my cricket started to get better. My Aussie rules football started to get better, and but then obviously cricket took over, and it progressed at a quicker rate than the football. But I'd be lying if I said I got to bat quite a bit in the garden.
Now, you say you had a growth spurt. So I did a bit of research before coming on to here. How tall are you?
I am 6'2".
See, now, right, Warwickshire putting you down at 6'4" on the website.
That's got nothing to do with me, mate. That's got nothing to do with me.
You get that measuring tape out.
I'm just 6'2", by the smallest of margins.
Nah, all good. You said you played AFL. Did you play much of that during your childhood, your upbringing?
Yeah, played it. So it was footy and cricket. So footy during the winter and cricket during the summer. So we played that all the way through up until sort of that. Until I moved to Melbourne, and then I had 2 seasons while I was in Melbourne, while I was still coming back and playing, and it got to a point where I had a good friend of mine who I used to live with at the time in Melbourne, Nick Austin. I'd had a stress fracture in my back and through the cricket season, and I'd been given the tick of approval to go and do whatever I wanted to do, and I was fully recovered and all that. So I decided to pull on the boots and play a bit of footy, and then I got Nick tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You best come around for dinner one night, mate." I was like, "Oh, okay, no worries." Didn't really think anything of it, and he he sat me down. He's like, "Are you playing footy?" And I was like, "Nah, mate, no, I'm not." And he opened up his laptop, and there my stats were. He's like, "Come on, mate. I don't think you understand what opportunity you've got ahead of you. It only takes someone to fall over in front of you, and you can do an ankle or do a knee, and then that's your cricket done. So, you wouldn't be doing yourself any favours by not giving it 100% of a crack. So, come on, what are you going to do?" So, I didn't really know at that stage, and I thought, we'll go back and have a bit of a think about it. But I thought about it, and I was like, "No, actually, he's right. I'm going to give cricket a go." And I think I made the right decision, because 6 months later, I debuted for Victoria, and I'd been offered a contract. So it was, I think it was the kick in the backside that I needed, and so I do thank Nick quite a bit for that. But it wasn't a great conversation to have at the time.
But it was a good one, and you said things spiraled quite quickly then for you. You said you made your debut 6 months down the line, and so forth for Victoria. How do you find that transition going so quickly from playing, for Carlton into Victoria?
Yeah, it was massive. There was obviously a little bit of second 11 cricket in there, which, you play against a few of the fringe Sheffield Shield players and stuff like that. So that was a big jump up, and I think I handled that one okay. But the next step up into first class cricket was huge. I didn't really expect to be playing the game that I did play in. I got picked as a squad member to go to Tassie, and just to be around the squad, to get to know the guys a little bit, and have the experience of being around the group on game day, and that was great. And then we had a training session the day before the game started, and everyone was told to prepare as if you were all playing. And so we all did that, and we were all told that we'd know the team Wednesday afternoon, because we were a Thursday start, and it got to Wednesday afternoon and no one knew, and I just trying to take it all in and not think about it too much, and didn't really give it any thought of me playing. And then the next morning we all get to the ground, get to Blundstone Arena, and get told to prepare as if we're playing, and I'm out in the field doing some fielding, warming up in the field, and I can see Cam White who was the captain at the time, starting to walk over, and didn't really think anything of it. And he come over and he shook my hand. He's like, "Congratulations, mate, you're in. We're bowling, and you're bowling the second over, over uphill into the breeze." And I was like, "What? You kidding, eh?" And he's like, No, you're in, and we're bowling. So, wrap your head around that. And then, Damien Wright, who was the bowling coach at the time, he come over and congratulated me. "Congratulations, Cock, well done. We're bowling, so get ready. You're taking the first ball. You're bowling downhill with the breeze." And I was like, "No, Whitey's already told me I'm uphill into it." And he's like, "No, don't worry. I'm the bowling coach. You're bowling first over." So in the space of, half an hour, 40 minutes after that, I literally had a brand new kookaburra in my hand, stood at the top of my mark, and I was shitting myself. So
I can imagine, mate. What a feeling that must have been, eh?
Yeah.
So in that side then, obviously you're still, quite young at the time. Did you have any idols are in that current side?
Yeah, there was quite a few. We had Chris Rogers, who played cricket, who opened the batting for Australia. We had John Hastings, Rob Quiney presented me with my Victorian cap, which was great. We had Cam White. Who else did we have? I'm trying to think. Michael Hill played in that game.
Some pretty big names then.
David Hussey played in that game.
Wow.
So it was great to have all those guys around me. And I remember standing at the top of my mark, and John Hastings is at mid-off, and I obviously looked a little bit nervous. So he comes over, he's like, "Are you all right, Cock?" And I was like, "No, I'm shitting myself." And he was like, "Mate, just calm down. You'll be fine. Honestly, just keep doing what you've done to get here, and you'll be okay." And I think I held my own a little bit. I only ended up with 1 wicket for the game, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
I ended up with Mark Cosgrove trapped LBW, and then out walks the ex-Test skipper in Ricky Ponting, which didn't help. It made it even worse. So,
What a debut, eh? Just to remember that.
yeah. So, it was great. I wish I could remember more of it. It went so quickly, um, I just I catch myself thinking back over, trying to think of what happened over the 4 days, and I wish I can remember more of it. But it did happen really, really quickly.
Mate, that's a great story, and something that you should be very proud of, and is a great start to your cricketing career, eh?
Yeah, it was.
So you say you spoke about obviously the transition into that. Tell us a bit about your time with Carlton, and how it started, obviously in Melbourne and stuff like that, into that transition into Victoria.
Yeah, so 21-year-old moving to Melbourne, it was a big move, and I started in the third 11 at Carlton for the first probably 2 months. I reckon I was travelling back and forth from Shepparton, so it was a big commitment, and there were some long weekends over those couple of months. But no, it was great. Started in the third 11. And then progressed my way into the second 11, and was sort of lucky enough I don't know whether you call it luck or whether I worked hard enough or whether I was good enough to be picked as a replacement player for Evan Golbus, who was in the Victorian side at the time. He was playing in the Roby Cup final, so there was a spot there. So I went up and played the first week of that game against Fitzroy Doncaster, debuted in the first year of being there, and that I think stoked the fire a little bit to say, actually, I can do this, and I want to do this more, and just sort of lit that fire a little bit to want to get better and want to do that, and that's where I wanted to be. So did that, and had a full pre-season with Carlton the next season, and started in the first team, which was great. Played the first 5 games, and that's when I got my stress fracture in my back, and which was a little bit of a downer, but that's sport. We have the highs and we have the lows, and that's how you get over those hurdles and come back and better yourself on how you're judged as a sportsman, and hopefully I've done that all right. But so that wasn't great. That wasn't a very good sort of few months there, where I was on the sideline watching the boys go about it. So, but it is what it is, and we come back stronger, and I played a full season in the first team, and that's where I started to be picked in the second 11, and progressed up into the first class ranks that way. So
we've spoken a bit of transition, and just intrigued to see the kind of, because obviously the standard in Australia is renowned to be really high across the whole country. So what was it like coming from out in the bush playing cricket to coming into Melbourne? What was that step up like from third grade into first grade as well?
So I would say the first few games in the third 11, there wasn't much of a difference that from the A grade cricket, because I was playing against probably the best guys in and around Shepparton area. To move to the third 11 it was more, you're playing against the good younger kids that were coming through the ranks. And I reckon though a lot of those younger kids, that they would have fitted into the A grade system easily back home. But then it wasn't until you stepped up into the second 11, which you were probably playing against the top end of the A grade A grade competition. And then obviously the first team it was a big step up it was quite a big step up from that. So I don't know whether I've answered that well enough for you, mate.
No, that's a good comparison. To for people watching this, that okay, they're going to play, we say, bush cricket. and they're playing, okay, we're playing that first team standard. It's good to see where they would compete if they went and did grade cricket in Melbourne. So that's a good little comparison about it, mate.
Yeah, for sure. So there are four teams on a Saturday that do represent in the Premier Cricket competition. So whether you start in the fourth 11, which are the younger kids, and then you get your third 11s and your second 11s and first 11s. So there are opportunities too. If you are young enough and you want to have a crack at it, that you are still playing against older guys that probably can play in the next 11 above, but you've probably got guys that are probably keeping them from progressing. So the competition for spots is quite intense at times, but it is a good learning curve.
Because you say competition for those spots, like I've experienced it firsthand, but it must be in Carlton on a Tuesday, Thursday night when you train. How many blokes do you have turn up to compete for those spots?
Anywhere between 35 and 50, depending on what night you're there, and you generally do have some guys from the bush, some younger kids from the bush that'll come down and have a training session, and you try and ease them into the club, in little bits and little doses, and try and get them involved and get to know the guys. So if they do end up making a step down, that it's a lot easier. They know the guys that are down there playing, and you've got that sort of group of friends there that you know and can rely on there. But I remember there's been some good ding dong battles in the nets at the Blues.
Any that you can tell us about?
See, I think, there are a few, like especially early season, just before and just as daylight savings kicks in, it starts to get a little bit darker, and you tend to run in a little bit faster, and you try and bowl a little bit faster just to try and get one over your teammate up the other end. But no, I think there's that respect of your fast bowlers, that if you're facing other bowlers, and they were always up your end of the pitch, you tend to look after your fellow fast bowlers. But as soon as the batsmen walk in, it's open slather. So it was good fun.
Good. I bet you had some memories from that. So obviously we've spoken about the transition from where you've come from, the influences in your life and stuff like that. How did you come about where you are today, sat in that house with that lovely wine rack behind you?
So I remember it. It was a Saturday afternoon in we were playing at Princess Park, which is Carlton's home ground, and my ex-girlfriend then, she's Welsh, and there was another Welsh lad walking around the boundary line, and they obviously heard each other talk and sort of started a conversation there. So no, it was I think you had a bit to do with it, mate. In terms of, like, there was always that ambition to want to come over and give it a crack, and to see where my mum was born in Devon, so there was that element of wanting to see England, to see where she was from, and you definitely had a big part to play in that. Otherwise, I probably may have gone down a different route. I don't know, but you sort of got the ball rolling in terms of speaking with Complete Cricket, and Complete Cricket obviously speaking to Berkswell, and we got the ball rolling that way. I think I was meant to come over a couple of seasons before I did, but I ended up with I had to have an ankle operation, so that didn't work out. But I think it made me probably enjoy my time over a little bit, being a little bit older, and probably appreciate it a little bit more. I can't thank Complete Cricket enough, and yourself, to be honest, because you got that ball rolling and put me in a great club at Berkswell, and the guys at Berkswell have been fantastic. And I think the best bit about Berkswell is that I can go down on a Saturday, and it doesn't matter whether I'm sitting with the 10 blokes I'm playing with on the field, or I'm sat with the 10 older guys that are sat by the bar. I fit in perfectly there, and everyone's been nothing but lovely and welcoming, and I've loved every minute of it.
No, fantastic, mate. That's great to hear. So that transition, you say you came into Berkswell, it's one of those, we got talking on the boundary out in Princess Park, and I said, have you ever thought about coming over? We spoke about the Welsh roots, and, in a way, you had a bit of a blessing that you had a British passport, to come over on that side, not come over as an overseas player in a way. So it actually gave you that opportunity to go and potentially play for a county. And then you said you went to Berkswell, and how did you find your time at Berkswell? Or you're obviously still currently there. How are you finding it all there?
I love it. It's great. Like the guys have been fantastic. From the captain in Dom Osler to the president in Matt Nightingale, everyone has been fantastic. Like I've got such a good relationship with both of them that we can pick up the phone, and whether they come around here for a coffee or a beer, or whether I'm around there for a coffee or a beer, and it is fantastic. The 11 guys that I take the field with are great. They're always. I think the best bit about it is that I can take a bit of stick from them, but then I can also give a bit of stick back. So there is that bond of, well, you're an Aussie, but you're a Pom. But there's always going to be that banter, and I sort of enjoy that aspect, that we don't take it too seriously, and we're there to enjoy it, and we do enjoy it. So that's the enjoyment factor of that I can go and play for Warwickshire and have the serious element there. But then when I'm not playing for Warwickshire, I can actually go back to Berkswell and enjoy it.
Yeah. And it reminds you of why you took up cricket, and, all those good
absolutely.
times, those good feelings.
Yeah, definitely.
No, good. So, we talked about the levels at Carlton and then back at home. How did you find the level at Berkswell in the Birmingham League?
Yeah, it was good. Again, it's cricket, you're playing against other men, so there's always going to be that competitive element. I think the standard is pretty good, so I think it probably held me instead to go and trial for other counties, and then once I did get that opportunity, I think it held me in good stead to take that next step as well. I had that taste at Victoria, and obviously wanted to continue that, and I think playing with Carlton and then playing with Berkswell as well, it held me in good stead to go and do well for the second teams that I did play for, and then progress into the Warwickshire first team, and do well for the first sort of 5 or 6 games that we played that season. So
yeah. So as an Aussie, did you get much stick coming over here and playing in the leagues?
No, I don't think so. No, not really.
That's a shame.
I think the fact of being a fast bowler,
intimidating, yeah,
probably helped a little bit. I get a little bit of stick when I'm batting, but it's more friendly banter. Like there's nothing that you don't laugh off, really. It's probably all true that what they're saying. So you just you laugh it off, and you don't give them any sort of acknowledgement. But yeah, I think I may have probably intimidated my way through it. I think if they had got stuck in properly, then it might have been a different situation. But yeah, I think I might have bluffed my way through that one.
There's a photo in the press, I can't remember what year it was, where Tom Smith's wickets were everywhere after you skilled him in at Nolan Dorridge.
Yeah. I think there might have been a few that year, but but no, I think Tom tried to have a bit to say that day, and I'm not the quickest to think of something to say back. I'm not really that quick-witted, but so I didn't really say too much, and I just let the cricket do the talking, and yeah, there's that photo of the peg sort of cartwheeling out of the ground, and I didn't really need to say anything after that, did I?
Don't worry, he still remembers it. We talk about it every season. So from Berkswell to Warwickshire, how did that go about, and how did that actually happen?
So yeah, I had a before I even came over to England. I had an email from David Ripley, who's the head team coach of Northants, and he was interested in getting me in to trial with the second team. He'd spoken to Cam White, and Cam White had given me a really good introduction, and sort of, I'm not sure whether he spun a couple of white lies to say how good I was, but yeah, so I had that connection there to play some second team cricket there, and then obviously with being at Berkswell, the first team captain Dom Osler is a Warwickshire legend, and it was basically he came up to me and said, if you're going anywhere, you've got to be a bear. So it started off with Northants and Warwickshire that I was trialling with. I played one game in the second team with Warwickshire, and then they had a big gap, so it gave me an opportunity to play with Northants. And then James Pattinson was the overseas for Notts at that stage, and he got in contact with me and said, I've given your number to the guys at Notts, expect a phone call. They're going to want you to come and trial. So I was like, all right, no worries, not a problem. Because the first game that I did play for Warwickshire was against Notts.
All right.
We didn't get a lot of cricket in. It rained for 2.5 days, so we only got a day and a half, which we batted in. So I didn't even bowl. So for Pato to pass my number across was great. And I thanked him for that. And yeah, it sort of progressed from there. So I got a phone call from Ant Botha at Notts, and I went and trialled. I had one game with Notts, and we played against the MCC YCs, the young cricketers at the MCC, and I did pretty well there. I got 4 in both innings, and they were keen for me to continue. And then sort of Warwickshire started back up playing again, and then so I had Frosty at the time on the phone, and so I went down and played with them. And I think there was a couple of weeks where we went to Newcastle to play against Durham, and I took Pfeiffer in a T20, and then Pfeiffer in the first innings of the 3-day game that week, and then we come back, and I had a choice to make whether I played for Warwickshire or Northants, and it was a pretty easy decision. So I picked Warwickshire, and we played that game at Portland Road, and we had a fairly good bowling attack that day. We had Chris Wokes, Ollie Stone, Chris Wright, and then just this old bush battler from Tallygarutna as your fourth quick, and we bowled them out pretty cheaply, and we had a pretty big score in our first innings, and Wokesy and Ollie Stone were coming back from injury, so they were under restrictions, and we only had 8 overs to bowl on the evening of day 2, and so Righty and I were given the ball, and so we had them 4 down overnight. Righty had 2 and I had 2, and we sort of earned the right to open again the next day, and it sort of progressed that I took the next 6 wickets and ended up with 8. Wow. And got a phone call from Ashley Giles the next day. So it all happened really, really quickly, to be honest. But I'm kind of grateful that it did happen really quickly. But yeah, so that sort of happened really quickly, and then had a couple of really good, honest chats with Matt, who I speak about. He's like my English. He and his wife Debbie are like my English parents over here. If there's anything that I need that I can rely on, I need for help or anything like that, they're the people that have been nothing but great. They've helped me out from day dot, and I am really grateful to have them in my life. They have been nothing but sensational. So had some good chats with him and with Dom, and it was basically, in the end, it was a pretty easy decision where you've got a county offering your contract or a county wanting you to play second team. So it was a pretty easy decision. So picked Warwickshire, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, it is brilliant, mate. That's another good little story that you've had there. So you spoke about like the whirlwind of how you made your your debut for Victoria. How did that compare to when you made your debut for Warwickshire? And how did it come about? What feelings did you have? Because you say you
Yeah,
had that before with Victoria.
Yeah, I think I was probably a little bit older, so I was able to appreciate it a little bit more, and I think I was able to let a lot more of it sink in. It doesn't get much better than debuting at Lords, that's for sure. Away against Middlesex at Lords was something that I'll hold close to me, forever. To think growing up in a small country town of 400 people and to debut at the home of cricket for one of the biggest counties in England is something you dream about, and I've been blessed to have that happen. So I think being a little bit older, being a little bit wise, I don't know whether wise is the right word, but being able to sort of take a step back and take it all in, and appreciate it for what it is. Obviously, a few wickets along the way do help that. But yeah, to have the guys there around me was great. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. So you spoke about a couple of lads there. Who have you got the closest to at Warwickshire? Obviously, the bowling cartel. Do you stick together, or do you have other lads?
Yeah, there's been a few. There's been a few. So Chris Wright and Keith Barker were fantastic when I first come over. They were the first couple to stick their arm around me, and being in the fast bowlers cartel themselves, to have them alongside you was great. But Ian Bell, he's been good. He only lives up the road, so we quite often, walk up to the coffee shop and have a coffee, or the pub and have a pint. But he's been great. Ollie Stone, who I lived with for a little period of time there, I'd say he's probably my closest mate at the minute. Will Rhodes, who I live with, we're pretty close as well. So I think we've got a good core group of guys at the minute now that we're all sort of at a similar age. Obviously, I'm probably a little bit older than those guys at the minute, but we're at a stage where we all get along really, really well, and whether it's on the golf course or whatever it may be, whether we just nip down the cafe for coffee or whatever it is, but we all do get along really, really well, and we all are pretty close. So I think going forward, I think we've got that sort of bond as a group that we can do good things going forward.
It's always good to keep on the right side of the captain as well, as you
Absolutely.
mentioned there.
Yeah, for sure.
Nah, brilliant. So I want to talk to you a bit now, but obviously it's probably a bit of a sour note. Injuries. I've understand that you've had a few injuries along the time. How have you gone? There's a big aspect in everyone's life at the moment, mental health and mental health awareness. How did you deal with that? Going for the highs to getting knocked back and then going back down to the lows.
Yeah, I think injuries aren't great. They're part and parcel of sport, let alone elite sport. But I think I'm a pretty upbeat kind of person. I try and look at the glass as half full instead of half empty. So it's an opportunity to better yourself and to get back stronger, fitter. That there have been some times where you definitely do get into a bit of a dark place because they are the same four walls of the gym, or the CV room that you're looking at, and it's the same one or two people that you're working with. But you've just got to try and stay as upbeat and as positive as you can. I've had a couple of long-term injuries which have been crap, but I think for the last long-term injury that I did have was the stress fracture in my shoulder blade that I had 2 seasons ago. I think the club were fantastic. The club basically said to me, they go, right, well, your season's done. yes, we want to see you around the place, but we don't want to see you here every day. So go away, go and have some time, whether you go on holidays or whether you go to London to see your partner. We don't care what you do, but we obviously want you to check in every now, like we want you to check in, but we don't want to see you here every day. So I think that was a massive part in sort of that mental health aspect of I'm not being dragged into this place every day to do the same 6 exercises for an hour, to see the same 2 people, the physio and the S&C. So I think that was great. You know, that gave me an opportunity to do some things that I wouldn't have been able to do. Like I got to Wimbledon. My partner's background is rowing, so we went to Henley, the boat race in Henley, to watch that. I went to Montenegro for a week and sat on a beach, which was fantastic. So that gave me a chance to do a few things that I probably haven't and wouldn't have been able to do if I wasn't injured. So I think you've got to try and keep yourself a bit as busy away from sport and away from your injuries, to try and keep your thought process and away from that. Try and keep yourself
Try
as
and stay
busy.
distracted.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably a better way of putting it. Just to distract yourself from those dark thoughts and to keep yourself as busy and positive and upbeat as you can. Really, that's sort of the approach that I've taken. I can't say it's worked 100% of the time, but it's worked most of the time for me. It may not work for some people, but if someone takes a little bit out of it, then hey, I've done my job, really, haven't I?
Yeah, it's the little wins, isn't it?
Yeah,
And they all add up.
Absolutely. Little wins along the way do definitely help.
So you, obviously your name's Ryan Sidebottom, and you probably would have heard this before, and you share your name with an English and Yorkshire cricketer, ex-cricketer. Have you ever been mistaken for him? So like your name's gone down on the sheets and they're like, oh, this is the Ryan Sidebottom. Have you ever had that experience?
Personally, I've never had anyone come up to me and say we were expecting the other Ryan Sidebottom.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago from the Grey cricketer and Ryan was on there being interviewed, and I remember him speaking about his final year for Yorkshire, and I had just debuted for Warwickshire, and he just announced his retirement for Yorkshire, and it was out in the press that Ryan Sidebottom had signed for Warwickshire. So I think he copped a little bit of stick on social media about, why have you signed for Warwickshire? You're retiring from Yorkshire. Like, what's going on? What's happening? Not knowing that I've signed. So I think he sort of got mistaken. He got caught up in it a little bit more than what I did. I sort of, you get a little bit of stick every now and again. You're not as good as the other Ryan. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm not. Like, I know it. He's got X amount of international wickets, and I'm only just a bogan from Tallygaroopna. Like, but yeah, so there's always going to be that little bit of banter. As you're not as good as him, but he bowls with his left arm. He's got a lot more hair than I do, and I bowl with my right arm. So
actually, so I'm going to stop you there. Talking about hair, right? This on your chin here, right? Obviously, during the first lockdown, people were growing, the hair on their head here. You decided to go the other way, didn't you?
I think no, it was before lockdown.
Yeah.
That it came about, and I think I just got a little bit lazy, to be honest, and stopped shaving, and it grew to a bit where I was like, okay, actually, I like this, so we're going to keep this, and so I went back to Australia for a period over their summer, winter here, Christmas period, and I just kept it, and it got to a point where I'd say it got down to about here.
Oh, wow.
at its best, and it got to a point where the lockdown the time had come where it needed to go. So I ended up shaving it during lockdown. But yeah, it got a bit epic there for a little while.
And what did Tash think of that?
She never really said she didn't like it, but
Okay, good.
I think she knew. She knew if she said she didn't like it, that I'd sort of keep it out of spite. But
Right.
I can see the comments down here, and my brother Josh, Twiggy, he had a beard at the same time, and he reckons that mine wasn't as good as his. But I think mine was way better than his. Like his was a little
Right.
bit sort of pubic hair like, but mine was a bit thicker and a bit bushier. So bad luck, Twig. You missed out there, mate.
So coming away from cricket now, what do you do? Say in your downtime. I know you've just moved house, so that's keeping you occupied and little Dusty is. What else do you look to do in your free time?
I enjoy golf, but I'm not very good. So there's a fair bit of time spent out on the golf course. But yeah, other than that, it's sort of cricket does take up quite a bit of your time. I guess this is the first real winter that I've had for 4 or 5 years now. So I've always been sort of the winter months over here. I've normally gone back to Australia to go and see family and to see my nieces and nephews, which unfortunately this year is going to be a bit difficult because I don't get to go and see them this year, so that's going to be a little bit tough. But and to see the boys, I guess like we are pretty close, but we can go periods of time without talking. But then when we do all get together, we do tend to have a bit of fun and enjoy it. But to keep busy, I guess it's a golf. Now I've got the puppy. He's keeping me really busy. The house has sort of kept me a little bit busy as well. But I guess I'm still trying to see as much of England as I can, really. Just before this lockdown, we had a week where Tash and I we tried to go on holidays abroad, but it didn't quite eventuate. So we did a week-long road trip around Devon and Cornwall, which was great. Lovely part of the country, and I guess still trying to see all of the country that I'm in at the minute. So that's sort of another aspect of trying to keep myself as busy as possible.
Yeah, because you said, as rightly said, you don't realise what's around you until you actually go out and actually visit and explore. Because you take things for granted. What is, the scenic places around us, and we're very privileged to have that, haven't we?
Absolutely. I think now that once Dusty gets a little bit bigger and we can actually start to take him out on longer walks, I think it's a good excuse for not only myself but for Tash as well to come with them and to go and explore, whether it be the Cotswolds or the Peak Districts or the Lake Districts or whatever it may be. But I think it's a great excuse to get out and see all that. And I think one thing that probably COVID and the whole lockdown thing has sort of made us realise is what we have in our back gardens and what we do have sort of on our doorsteps. And we are pretty lucky. Well, definitely, yeah, we are lucky that we have got such beautiful countryside that we can get out and explore.
So taking cricket aside from Australia at the moment, what's the biggest thing, and family, what's the biggest thing that you miss from Oz and Melbourne?
The warm weather.
Okay, that's a good one. We had a pretty good summer though.
Definitely the summer's great over here. That I think as soon as what mid-September hits around, the temperature starts to drop, and then it starts to rain, and it starts to get dark, and
that's when you usually fly off back to Oz.
Exactly, that's when I sort of normally say ta-ta. But I don't think I've ever seen it rain as much as it has here for as long as it has. Like it feels like every second day it's raining at the minute. But probably the warmer weather, taking away family, friends, and the cricket stuff. Definitely the environment of the warmer climate.
Yeah. What about the food and the coffee that they have on every corner in the streets? That's
Yeah, that's just an added bonus, isn't it?
So just the number 22 on the back of your shirt for Warwickshire. Have you always had that?
No, I haven't. So started with number 2 at Carlton. That was just given to me. One of the ex-fast bowlers that retired just before me, Andrew Dickinson, he had it, and so I think the Blues were keen to keep it sort of in the fast bowling cartel, and so that was passed on to me. And then when I got picked for Victoria, I had 35 on my back. So yeah, I've had a couple of different numbers. Coming over here and signing for Warwickshire, Keith Cook, who's the operations manager at Warwickshire, he basically asked me, he said, right, what number would you like? And I said, well, I've had 35 in the past, and I would like that. Is that available? And unfortunately, it wasn't. Will Rhodes at the time had just signed from Yorkshire, and he'd asked for it, so that was already gone. And so I basically sat down with Cookie and was like, right, what's left? And number 2 had gone. There was a few other higher numbers that were available, and 22 was available. And Steele, my younger brother, he wears that for Collingwood. So I was like, you know what, bugger it. I'll take 22. Let's that'll do. That's fine. At the end of the day, it's only a number on your back. That doesn't really mean anything personally. So it was basically what was left, really.
It's good that you can share that with Steele, that number of the 22, and have some personal meaning to you, longer down the road when you look back at it, and you look back at both of your careers, you can have
definitely. I think it'd be nice to one day have his Aussie Rules jumper and my cricket shirt next to each other with the 222s. I think it'd be to have that hung up in the man cave or the shed or wherever. But yeah, so I think looking further down the track, I think that'll be nice.
So we've had a pretty serious conversation for the last 50 odd minutes. I'm just going to chuck in a couple of things to throw you here, right? So a bit of some funny questions and trying to make you think about it and see how clever you are, right? Are you happy with that?
Righto, we'll give it a go.
Right, first one is, how many months have 28 days in it?
12.
Good start. So there are 20 people, okay? They jump into a swimming pool. When they all come up, there are 24 heads. How so?
Because there was 4 extra people in the pool already.
Nope.
20 people jump. Yeah, not quite sure.
So if 20 people jump into a swimming pool and then they all come back up, 24 heads you see.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. If you're in a race.
Very good.
And you pass the person in second place, what position are you in?
Say that again.
If you're in a race and you pass the person in second place, what position are you in?
You'll be in second.
Good. Okay, and then the last one. Okay, what does YES spell?
Yes.
What does EYES spell?
Eyes. I've heard that one
you've
before,
had that
mate.
one, have you? I thought that one would have got you, man. Nat, Ryan, thank you very much for joining us today. We've had people tune in. There's been a few comments and stuff like that. So really appreciate you giving insights to your career on and off the field. Is that Dusty?
Yeah, it is. Before we go,